is as we called it, coming to you late in the week, but it's all right because we're going to have red hot picks. Doesn't really matter that we missed Thursday Night Football because that game was absolute trash. Connor Lucas is back. He has been real busy at work, so we've missed him, but we are happy to have you back on the show, Connor.
Ow! I
just smashed his elbow.
You got shot out of my hand. We may have to restart this. I'm not. You know what? The show goes on. The show goes on. The show goes on.
Do you know why we're not stopping it? Because I didn't make the mistake.
Oh man, that hurt. I forgot my desk is a corner in my office. Whatever. It's fine. It's bigger than I remember. I've been in Chicago.
We're gonna let Connor, heal up real quick.
And go to Ken right now.
Cut to Ken.
Cut to Ken.
We have Dr. Kenneth Call, who's coming off a perfect week, 5 for 5. How's it feel to, I guess, be on a 5-game heater?
Better than Connor's elbow, for sure.
Yeah. Ken, what do I do? It's swelling up.
You should call a doctor.
But not me.
By the way, Ken is the worst doctor to people he knows. Every time I ask him, like, I'm like, dude, can I got like this, pain in my back or neck? He's like, come here. You just take your head up. And I'm like, yeah, nope. We are not twisting my neck, and I'm not hearing a popping sound.
Did that one time during med school, and all of a sudden, the worst.
At that time in med school, that's what I knew. We were learning how cavemen fixed problems. Killed them off. Natural selection. All right. So next week we will be having a holiday episode. It's going to be a special Festivus-themed episode. We will be airing our grievances with many of the people in the NFL. So here we go.
I got a lot of problems with you people. Now you're going to hear about it.
That is George Costanza's father. I think it's Frank Costanza from Seinfeld. So I cannot remove the laugh track. I wish I could. But anyways, airing of grievances next week. So definitely an episode you're not going to want to miss. I will clip it and share that specific piece with everyone. And then also, before we get started with our picks, JJ Watt rookie card. We are still at 37 subscribers. Please like and subscribe. We're shaky for the month of October. We were all busy life events. But the good news is we're in the home stretch for the NFL. We are going to kill it. We are going to give great analysis. So subscribe so you get up-to-date information and have the chance to win that rookie card. With all that out the way, Connor looks like he is feeling better. Connor, you have Houston plus 6.5 as your favorite pick, or the pick I assigned to you to speak about first. Why are you taking Houston as a road underdog against the Joe Burrow-led Bengals?
6.5 seems like a lot. I am shocked that it hasn't moved. I mean, I get it. Nico Collins is out, but it's interesting, though. Nico Collins didn't have 100 yards last week. Two others, Noah Brown, go Buckeyes, and Tank Dell each had over 100 apiece. And Dalton Schultz, there's 3 100-yard guys right there that are not impacted at all by Nico Collins. So that's number one. Full disclosure, I was wrong about C.J. Stroud, and I'm a Buckeye. He was easily my third, he's probably my third highest rated QB in this upcoming draft, or in this past draft. And I don't think that's as abnormal as everyone thinks it is, because he was probably the second, third, maybe even fourth on a lot of people's lists. And he's proved a lot of people wrong. And Phil will tell you about the S2 cognition test and why he dropped and why it was a stupid test. However, I'll let Phil do that for you. Anyways, point being, CJ Stroud's a stud. I think T. Higgins has already been ruled out. Our beloved T Higgins. I still believe in Joe Burrow. They're going to win this game. But it's interesting, though. If you guys watch, I mean, this is total recency bias. But if you watched last week, the Bengals were really beaten up on the Bills. And then they kind of sort of slowly they stalled in the second half. They kind of let him in. Joe Burrow had a great game. And he definitely had what I would consider, I don't know, he definitely looked more like the original Joe Burrow that everyone loves. But for some reason, Zach Taylor creeps back in, man. And then they hit downshift and they'll win. And they'll say they got a little bit of Arthur Smith in them. Shout out Arthur Smith because we hate him. Bring him in at any given time to talk crap about him. But they downshift and then basically say, we'll just win this game closer than we should have. And, I feel like they'll do that this week with Houston. D'Amico Ryans, they're scrappy. I think, and if you look at the last, I think it's 5 games. The last 4 or 5 games, the Texans have won by 2, lost by 2, won by 7, lost by 2, won by 24. I mean, none of those games have been anywhere near if anything, it's been positive against a 6.5 point spread. We're not talking against crappy teams. As bad as it sounds, Arthur Smith defense, they lost by 2, right? So, I mean, I would say that the Bengals, they're a good defense. They're starting to hit their stride. But I'm just not betting against this guy. All of a sudden, he went from, wow, he may not make it in the NFL to, holy crap, he may win MVP and Rookie of the Year this year. Now, by the way, we need to check the tape here. We have said, here is how CJ Stroud could be viewed. Floor, Jared Goff. Ceiling could be Joe Burrow. So it is kind of ironic that we were saying that CJ Stroud, this was in his range of outcomes. Phil, Rue, statement basically is what we're saying. We're using statistics. Okay? So again, 6.5 here. I think that's way too many. I think Stroud keeps it close. Bengals win.
Yeah, so minor detour on the S2 cognition. I was talking with Connor about this before we started. I noticed the S2 cognition didn't come up until this last offseason and the year before when, it was perfect on everyone that it's had. And I was just telling Connor, I'm like, I can't believe I didn't think about this. But it's definitely just something that's overfit to recency bias. And then, you get a new player to come in who doesn't test well on it. And you're like, he doesn't do good on this test that's been perfect the last 2 drafts. Well, you need a lot more than 2 drafts to be right. And CJ Stroud's the perfect case because his biggest strength is his ability to read a defense and throw on time. And that's explicitly what the S2 is supposed to measure. So definitely overforgot that, model bias, you got to be right for 10 years. You can't be right for 2. All right. With that, let's go over to Ken. Take us to Jacksonville, where we actually all have this pick. San Francisco -3. Why don't you tell us why you like it so much?
Well, pretty simple. San Francisco is the better team. Now, I think that Jacksonville's offense has been very fluky. I think that Jacksonville's put up quite a few points in their most recent games. They look good. They look great over in London, and just they've kind of kept rolling. ETN has scored touchdown after touchdown. He is leading fantasy teams. I mean, really on his TDs. But I do not think that that's going to keep up. They've had a lot of fortunate turnovers. They've had short fields. I know I have Trevor Lawrence on quite a few teams. He's not getting many yards. And I just think that this 49er team you're going to see more, early season Burrow Purdy than what we've seen recently. Especially they got 2 new pass rushers too. I love the fact that they got Chase Young, also being an Ohio State guy. I know you guys were talking about it, but the Joey Bosa, Chase Young duo has worked pretty well for teams in the past. And I just think that this Jacksonville team is not going to be able to score. I think that with the healthy Debo, Trent Williams, I think he's practiced at least limited this week. He's looking like he's going to be back. That offense, give him a bye week. Let Purdy. I call him Burrow because he's that good.
That good.
That good. Maybe a bit of an exaggeration, but still.
A little bit. But I think they're going to look good. Jacksonville's defense has looked good too, but that offense, especially give Shanahan an extra week. I don't think 3 points is going to be enough of a cover for Jacksonville. So give me San Fran.
Connor, anything to add?
Not really. Speaking of funny things about the difference between fantasy and reality for being good at football, Travis Etienne is the number he's a top 10 overall fantasy asset right now, and I think he's number 2 or number 3 running back. But
Yep.
If you actually take a look, and you mentioned it kind of this is a little bit of a sidebar, but he's got 6 touchdowns in the last 3 or 4 weeks. if you take those away, like he's like a good running back, but he's not the top running back. So it's, another thing that we always talk about separately in fantasy, which is, hey, buy targets, buy volume, don't buy touchdowns. Like, before we go off on saying, all right, Travis Etienne is the best running back in the NFL, let's hold our horses there for a minute. And he's also about to see the freaking monster of a defense, which is Chase Young and Joey Bosa and Von Greenlaw.
Bosa.
Sorry, Nick Bosa. Bosa brothers. Bosu, Basu, Ball, whatever. Who cares? Science. Anyways. But no, I just think that, giving Shanahan a week is better than giving Peterson a week because they were both on buys last week.
Yeah, no, I think the week for San Fran means a lot more. They're healthy, and healthy San Fran is not something to mess with. Like when you can have Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk and CMC and George Kittle and Trent Williams, like you got your up front protected, and then you got your skill positions to rip people apart. So 100% in. I think Brock Purdy is a legitimate starting good quarterback. Maybe up in that like Tua, a little bit ahead of Jared Goff kind of level. So I think he absolutely shows it, and they stopped this 3-game skid that they're on. The bye week couldn't have come at a better time for that team. Now, Ken, you also have the under in this game. Any reason in particular?
First off, the Jacksonville defense is underrated, but also the 49ers defense just keeps improving. Connor was saying before we started here, they're a solid or a very good secondary away from being the best defense that we've seen in quite a while. I love watching their linebackers. Fred Warner is one of my favorite people to watch. Also, ironically, so is George Kittle. Just the 49ers team in general. But they got some improvements on this pass rush. I don't believe in this Jacksonville offense, and I just don't think that they'll be able to keep up. I think that what's the number here? 45.5. I just don't think they're going to be able to do that. It's definitely going to be a lower scoring game. I don't see a lot of crappy turnovers. I don't see a lot of cheap points. So that's why.
All right, let's go on then to the next game we all have. Detroit minus 2.5. So I think we all agree here. We love us some Dan Campbell and the Detroit Lions, despite what happened in this offseason where I got yelled at by a bunch of Detroit fans. But we also hate Brandon Staley, and 2.5 points is just not enough for the Chargers. They absolutely collapse in games like this. I feel like this could be a close game that Detroit's going to pull out in the end because Dan Campbell will just simply outcoach Brandon Staley. The Lions will have David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs, so someone who can just wear down the defense in Montgomery, and then Gibbs can just come out and burst through for a big touchdown here and there. I know the Chargers, they are just beat up on the receivers. Like Josh Palmer's gone now, and so is Mike Williams. You're talking Keenan Allen, Quentin Johnston, Gerald Everett, no one there besides like Austin Eckler and Keenan Allen. So the vertical threat is just not there. Honestly, we also have under 48.5, and part of that is because of the Chargers' lack of ability to stretch the field and make plays. I just think the Chargers have beat up on weak teams, and that Detroit is a legit, leader in the NFC. I don't know if I'm going to go full on to Super Bowl contender yet, but they're a legit, full, complete team, and they plant their flag on that this week by beating, what's a good Chargers team, but not a great one. Connor, anything else?
Yeah, this is so funny because, we remember things I don't know, whatever it was. 3 years ago, you had Mahomes versus Goff in, the 58-40 double overtime shootout. And you're like, man, Mahomes and Goff and the LA Rams are so great. It's kind of like the same thing that happened, 2 years ago or whatever when it was Herbert's first or second year. And he was playing the Chiefs, and they went there and they hung 35 on the Chiefs and won in a shootout, 35-30. And you're like, man, that could be the Chargers, man. That could be them. And then they come into games like last week, and they totally lay an offensive egg. And you're like, how is that possible? How could this team possibly do that? Last week they played, who was it, the Jets? And
Yep.
they basically, crap the bed, and you're just sitting here going, how can you guys do that? So
the only reason they won is because Zach Wilson was the other quarterback.
That's the only reason. And then you sit here and you go, all right, Goff mixed with Dan Campbell wanting to turn this into some sort of brawl probably wants to happen. He just wants to sit there and run the ball 30 times, get it down to the one with St. Brown and Laporta, and then he's just going to give it to Monty so he can also see. This is the opposite of Arthur Smith because he's a better version of Arthur Smith because he can play up and down with whoever he's playing to, and also he wins the game. And Arthur Smith doesn't win the game and then also gets defiant and goes, yeah, but it was close. And it's very different. So if you guys are counting, that's the second time we're taking a pot shot at Arthur Smith tonight. Stick around. There's plenty more where that came from.
Like I said, airing of grievances next Wednesday.
Can't wait.
Ken, what do you have anything else that me and Connor missed?
Just at the Chargers defense, they do really great beating up on bad teams. They do have really a few really good skills players on that team, on that defense, but overall as a unit, not very good. I think that this is going to be, it's just a classic, like what Connor said. Dan Campbell's going to be like, hey, we're going to just beat them. You just look at that Chiefs game where it's like, we're going to hold the ball. It's going to be a boring game. We want to keep the ball out of Herbert's hands, and the Chargers defense is good enough to beat up on bad teams, and I do not think they have enough to stop a fully functioning offense, and I think that's what the Detroit Lions have. Just big fan of what Dan Campbell's done, so I completely agree.
That's right. And again, the under, because like Connor said, Dan Campbell's going to run right through the Chargers, and the Chargers for whatever reason are going to run the ball 30 times because that's what they do instead of giving the ball to the best players. Anyways, moving on. Connor, Denver plus 7.5 on Monday Night Football. You have the Bills continuing to struggle. Why?
Dude, I'm just not convinced, man. I am not convinced. Like, they just don't have that same, like, I don't know. They're not the same Bills that we've seen in the past. Just plain and simple. I just don't think that they are. Fine, you can go out and you can get Chunky Lenny, funky, whatever, Lenny, whatever the shell is left of him, because you don't think that James Cook is actually a good running back. Fine, whatever. That helps you a little bit. But the glaring issue is that Josh Allen is good for like one, maybe two, just stupid, boneheaded plays each game. Last week, they lost by 6 points to the Bengals. He turned the ball over on his own 20, throwing out basically on, I think he was going, it was like a cover 2 shell, and he tried to thread the needle in between a dropping corner that was leaking backwards to Gabe Davis, who you probably don't want to throw to anyways. And it was like, man, that looks like Brock Purdy out there throwing when he's concussed. That looks like, Desmond Ridder trying to read a defense.
Deshaun Watson. You're trying to say Deshaun Watson.
I would say that was like Deshaun Watson on Sundays.
Yeah.
Well, he doesn't even play, actually.
and then he comes back, and then he plays catch-up, and he goes Superman. And you're just going, like, he is the reason a lot of times for them winning games, but he's also the reason that games stay close. And I think that, frankly, throw out the first couple of games, I think Russ Wilson kind of getting back into figuring out Sean Payton's sort of how he's going to interact with Sean Payton. Look, they've had some, decent games. They haven't played a ton of like top tier talented, teams, but they've kept some games close, right? Like, as crazy as it freaking sounds, I mean, they beat the Chiefs, right? Like, so they beat the Chiefs, they beat the Packers, I just think this is going to be way closer. Russell Wilson's going to keep it close. And by the way, they flipped it. They are all of a sudden saying, hey, Javonte Williams guy, like, he's actually good at football. Let's run the rock with him, like, a lot. And they started doing that right before their bye week. I think they're going to come back out every week. Javonte's going to get a little bit more off of his ACL. And then they're going to realize, wow, this guy's actually good at football too. we should definitely run the ball with him. So I think they're going to keep it out of, Allen's hands, and then I think he's going to make one stupid mistake that's just going to keep it closer. Bills still win, but again, this is just kind of weird that Houston and Denver are getting points, and that's where it's like Vegas is not actually watching the game sometimes. It's just all numbers based. Stupid numbers, people, Phil. Like, I don't even...
Let me tell you, dude, people. They get paid way too much. They're embarrassments.
Stupid.
I really appreciate, though, that they get paid too much. It's great for me. I agree. Ken, you have the under. What do you got?
Yeah, so I jumped on here a little before Connor started talking and took the under as well. But I don't think, talk about the Bills offense. The Bills defense is not what it used to be. It was a elite, championship contender defense previously. They're missing Matt Milano. They're missing Tre'Davious White. And you can tell. Matt Milano is one of those types of players that, you don't need a linebacker who just, completely changes a game. But when you have one and you have a good defense, it's awesome. When he's lacking, you just tell. I do love that Javonte Williams call. I do think that he's just going to get more and more in there. Fantasy-wise, hey, guys, if you want a mid-season buy low, that's for sure a guy to go to. But I don't trust Russell Wilson to actually get him in the end zone. I do think that Javonte Williams is going to be able to move the ball. I think that it's going to be a little bit more of a slow game, more field goals than you expect, and that's why I'm also taking the under. But you're right, though. The Bills, I saw recently that they're just to make the playoffs, not win the division, but make the playoffs, was 50-50, like plus 100 betting. And at first I was going to send it to our group, be like, oh my God, guys, you can get even money for the Bills to make the playoffs. And I was like, I don't know if I want to take that. That's a scary bet every single week. So no, I do think they're going to win, but I think this is going to be a lot lower scoring than we think.
Speaking of teams in the AFC that you don't think are going to make the playoffs, Pittsburgh Steelers. I got the Packers +3 going into Pittsburgh this week. And let me tell you, this is one of those picks that I'm breaking the numbers. I'm not sure if I believe in it a lot. But what I do believe in is Pittsburgh is not a team that should be 6-3 or 6-4 and in the 5 spot for the AFC. The AFC is too good, and they have gotten away with some cheap, ugly, disgusting wins because Kenny Pickett goes from Deshaun Watson in the first 3 quarters of play to Tom Brady in the 4th, and it's going to stop. The Packers have a legitimately good defense that in the beginning of the year was winning them the games. I can't remember. I think they lost to, I can't remember if they lost to or beat the Falcons, but the defense made 3 or 4 big plays. Against the Lions, their defense was making big plays, but then their offense screwed up later on. But I believe in this Packers defense against crappy offenses, and a Kenny Pickett-led offense is garbage. So I am in on the Packers. Matt Canada is a man we'll be yelling at next week. Give me the Packers road underdogs to win a game they shouldn't, because the Steelers shouldn't be a team that is winning. So let's go on then after that. That was a quick one because it's like one I can't support, but I know it's going to happen.
You do understand that LaFleur is on the other side, right?
Yeah, but yeah, but Pittsburgh as a home favorite doesn't work. If Pittsburgh, I don't care if Mike Tomlin is playing, I don't know what is it the 85 Bears? As long as he's a home underdog, I'm betting him. However, as a home favorite, not going to touch it. I'm actually going to go against him. Let's go on then to New Orleans versus Minnesota. You guys each got to take here. Ken, you have the spread, so we'll go to you first. You're taking the Saints -3.
First off, it's tough to take the Saints when they're giving away points. It really is. Their offense gives away points, but their defense has been stout this year. I know I have them in fantasy, and they are completely killing it, but they haven't played much competition, and they're not going to this week. So,
true.
So, them missing Cam Akers stinks. Them missing Kirk Cousins stinks. Them Vikings missing Justin Jefferson, huge. Sorry. Josh Dobbs came in and was a hero. I love the story. I love seeing Josh Dobbs out there because you know what? the Browns should have kept him. He's been on our team several times, and we just for some reason can't keep him. Man, I wish he was there when Sean Watson decides he doesn't want to play. But the truth is, if you stop him from scrambling, he's not a good quarterback. He's a backup quarterback, and he has played too much this year to have too much film out for teams to not know how to stop him. Jordan Addison is great. He is a rookie. TJ Hawkinson is great. He is a tight end. That is it. That is all that's on their team. If they want to try to beat you with KJ Osborne and who's that? Powell
Jordan Addison.
I know, but he's a rookie. I'm sorry.
What?
He's
Marshawn
great,
Lattimore is going to be on him.
But
fine.
Alexander Madison is not a good running back. Maybe Ty Chandler is better than him. Who knows? They paid Alexander Madison. I'm not interested in much of this offense, especially when Justin Jefferson's out. Yes, Jordan Addison is good. He's a rookie. I don't know how much he's going to mesh with a brand new quarterback. I think that this Saints defense is better than that. I think that not Derek Carr, but Taysom Hill is a good goal line quarterback. He just all he does is score touchdowns. But I think that they'll put up enough. I think it's going to be ugly, but I think this is a New Orleans Saints defense that puts away Minnesota.
Yeah, I think Minnesota actually might be getting a little bit inflated in value because of how good Josh Dobbs was. And it's kind of hard to believe that
game was amazing to watch. It was, but
yeah, that a 1 week rental. Yeah. All right, now Connor, you have the over. Why are you taking the over?
You guys suck, man. Believe in Josh Dobbs. Okay, that guy's awesome. What a great story. I love that.
It's such a great story. I'm buying it.
He didn't even know the guy's names that he was throwing the ball to.
He should have done some scouting on the plane ride then. Huh?
Yeah, show up, get traded on Tuesday. I watched a podcast or a video clip of him today. 3 days in a row, it went from like, hey, you're starting next week from Gannon directly to, hey, you're not starting next week the next day, but you're not getting traded. Then he was traded the next day. And so he was literally like, Gannon literally lied to my face for like 3 straight days.
It's kind of like if you're going to break up with someone, you're like, hey, we just need some time apart. I'll call you in a week. And then it's like, hey, I'm going to Vegas with my buddies. And then you're
also like,
and hey, that's Dobbs, just a waitress. It's not a big deal.
Yeah. Like I've watched, I don't know. Again, this is also going against math, but watching Dobbs the 2 or 3 times I've watched him this year, yeah, he does some stupid things too, but he seems to always like either do something really nice, which is like get like a 40-yard rushing TD, or he brings them back late and they score points. Dobbs actually did more with less in Arizona this year, and now he's got more and somewhat more. So I mean, maybe I'm a week early on hitting the over button, but I think they can score more than 20 points here. And, I also think that New Orleans has actually started to put up a decent amount of points these past couple of weeks. So, I mean, seriously, the New Orleans put up 24 last week, 38 the week before, 24 the week before that. So, like, this to me just feels like hey, 2020 seems really low. Whether that's somebody goes off for 28, 21, 28, 24, that's what this game feels like to me. I don't care who it is. I don't care if it's 24 by the Vikings or 28 by Derek Carr. Fine. But to Ken's point, I think I also saw a stat that New Orleans has, I want to say it was like the top 3 lowest ranking strength of schedule of the rest of the year. You want to know why? Get ready for it. They get to play Arthur Smith. Did you guys know that? That's 3. They get to play him a couple.
Twice.
Dude, they get to play him, I think, twice. So That's another reason why you should say, hey, Saints might win this division and also get Arthur Smith booted. So there you go. There's 3, gents.
Can only hope that Arthur Smith gets fired because he doesn't win the division.
I really wonder who Connor's going to talk about next week.
I wonder if we have enough time.
If you had to guess, it's probably going to be Kevin O'Connell. That's probably my guess.
Kevin O'Connell, so a little bit of Joe Burrow, some Zach Taylor, maybe some T. Higgins. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, probably something in there.
Anyways, we're going to go over to Tampa Bay versus Tennessee. I'm taking under 39.5 in this game. And the reason why is because I'm writing an article on it. And I was looking up stats, trying to figure out it's a 1-point spread. You know, who am I going to bet money line? And then I saw that these teams are like top 1 and 2 in red zone defense efficiency. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I can see these teams moving the ball up and down out the field on each other all game. And then both of them are going to kick 6 or 7 field goals. Like, this game could just be, 15-12. And it's just, 5 field goals versus 4. It's just terrible. So under 39.5 seems like it's going to hit. I just don't believe in either of these teams to get into the end zone regularly. They both have solid defenses. Their offenses are okay, but it's led by Will Levis and Baker Mayfield, who are going to have, a couple nice plays, but then a couple, head scratchers. And against great red zone defenses, that means you're not going to put up points when it's 1st and goal from the 5-yard line. So under 39.5 is what I'm sticking with.
And how do you not believe in Will Levis, man?
Dude, because
looks so okay against Pittsburgh last week.
It was the first game he played. Like, I was looking at his stats, and it was like all he did is hit like 4 or 5 great deep balls, and everything else was trash.
Yeah, no. If you watch the games, like that's literally all it was. Like, he didn't throw the ball that many times. He ended up with like 263, but Hopkins had a Randy Moss stat line, which was like it was like 171, 3 touchdowns and like 4 catches. Seriously, it was crazy. But like, but that's also what he was known for coming out. He was the big cannon arm outside of Anthony Richardson, the more accurate version of Anthony Richardson. Less athletic, but more accurate, still had a crazy arm. But I don't like his throwing style. It is all arm. As crazy as it sounds, to me, if you watch him, he looks like the dude from Napoleon Dynamite, his uncle. The way that he throws it, it's all arm. Oh, man. All arm, like no legs. And you know what's funny is because like you actually watch a quarterback like breakdown. There was a guy, I can't remember who it was. Somebody else came out of college. It was like a Hall of Famer. He said, I had to learn to use my legs when I throw because I played in New York so often. Because you can't, the ball, if you don't use all of your power and bring your hips and whatnot, the ball will flutter if you don't throw a perfect spiral. If you watch him, he throws the ball and he flicks it, but he literally looks like this. And you're just sitting here going, all right, is that Kip from Napoleon Dynamite's dad? Like, I'm trying to remember. I don't even remember that movie, but I just remember
Uncle Rico, man.
Uncle Rico. I remember Kip, but Uncle Rico.
So just a note. I want everyone to go back and look at Josh Allen run a 40 in the combine. And I go, oh, dude, he runs just like Napoleon Dynamite. I don't care how fast it is. I don't want that guy. Yeah. So he was another miss for Cleveland. But
a lot of people make fun of him. Like, I've seen people quote that and be like, dude, what are you doing? Like, who taught you to run that way? Who taught you to run that way? And it's bad. It's really bad.
All right, let's go on to Jets versus Raiders. This is Sunday Night Football, and we got a disagreement here. Connor and I are going to have the winning side with the home underdogs, and Ken is riding with the Jets. So, Ken, you can go first. How can you believe in a Zach Wilson team is the real question.
Thank you for putting me first. I feel like I'm just about to get destroyed here. I feel like you're just you're throwing me into
Still got time to cancel.
No, listen. If you speak first, then like our rebuttal, you don't have to respond to it. You can just sit quietly because you already had your takeout.
So I just want to note that I'm 2-0 versus Phil so far, and I'm 0-0 versus Connor because he doesn't take bad takes. So I'm a little nervous about this one, but pretty easy. The best side of the ball on this on the field will be the Jets defense, and there will be no other good aspects to this game. I do not believe in Aiden O'Connell. Josh Jacobs looks like he sat out training camp, and they do not use Devontae Adams. I'm not worried about Jacoby Myers. I think that this Jets defense. Now, first off, they got embarrassed by the Chargers, not the Jets defense, the Jets, because they gave up less than 200 yards against the Chargers. They actually have a good offense. I do not know what the Raiders plan to do on offense, but I can tell you it's not going to work. Now, Zach Wilson sucks. I will not watch this game. I will hate the fact that I picked Zach Wilson, but I like Breece Hall. I think Breece Hall is going to be the best player on the offensive side of the ball in this game. I think that's going to be an awful game to watch. The fact that I'm not taking the over is because there might be a few awful turnovers that lead to points. I don't know. It's going to be a trash game, but I'm taking the best part of the game, which is going to be the Jets defense.
Dang, dude, you kind of make me want to take the over just to piss you off. Man.
It won't piss me off. I just said like, there could easily be 2 pick sixes in this game.
I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you. Like, Josh Jacobs is finally starting to get like back into shape. They are also giving him the ball a bunch of times. But Pierce, if this was like, I think I actually took like a parlay or something last week with over 18.5 touches for Josh Jacobs because Pierce said he's just going to feed the rock to him. He had like 25 or 26, so they're definitely going to use Josh Jacobs. Man, I just don't even know who's calling plays for them. I think it's a new guy for Vegas. But I just can't take anything Zach Wilson. Zero Zach. I watched a Dynasty this week. A guy was hurting so bad for a quarterback. It's a 2 QB. So it's 2 QB, not Superflex. So you have to have 2 QBs. And his like backup got hurt and he missed on another guy like Malik Willis or something. So he's got Jalen Hurts and he sent a future third in next year's draft for Zach Wilson, which is high. People were like, what are you doing? Why would you give him anything for Zach Wilson? The guy's going to be out of the league in 2 years. Well, I got to start someone. Well, bad planning. Poor planning. Oh, yeah, he had Kirk Cousins. That was his other guy. Yeah.
Did you have anything else on why you're taking the Raiders?
Phil, I'm just spitballing here. Dude, Phil, I will quit this show right now. Put me on blast one more time.
I'm over here like you give like a 10-minute fantasy soliloquy, and I just ask, why are you betting the Raiders? We're here to yell at Ken, and you're like, because dude in my fantasy league.
All right, fine.
Phil
whatever.
Over here thinks he's better than us using the word
Wilson.
soliloquy.
I don't know if you were listening, Phil. It was about Zach Wilson, dingus. Anyways, all of that to say, Ken, unless you seriously think that Zach Wilson is going to be something, I would not take the Jets. I would take LV purely because Antonio Pierce is a good guy. Okay? Purely because of Antonio Pierce. And he's going to feed Josh Jacobs the rock.
Okay, so we just completely agree that the way you beat the Jets is to run at them because they rank 22nd in yards per carry allowed, and the Raiders are going to run right at them, and it's going to be really bad.
That's the nerdy version of what I see with my eyes.
Yeah,
that's what
absolutely.
That's what we're talking about.
See, well, you said something, and then I added to it to support your argument, so I don't know why you're yelling at me.
I understand that. Ken's over there sitting there.
We don't make a good team. We need to fight.
Ken.
You guys make me want to take the Jets again. And that's painful to hear.
Take the Jets and the under. I dare you.
All right, we're moving on to my last official pick. And I know we've trashed Deshaun Watson, but I got Cleveland +6. So listen, the last time they played... Hey, this is not about Deshaun Watson at all. This is 100%. Because the last time they played, the Ravens actually, so they won 28-3, but I don't think they had a really good game offensively. It's just that DTR turned the ball over like 4 or 5 times in the Browns, like within the Browns 30. So not the red zone, but really close. And I think the Browns defense can actually create problems for the Ravens. 1, because they can match up outside man-to-man. And 2, because they can get to Lamar Jackson and not let him run right through, hold the ball for a minute and then make some crazy athletic, running around play, because they're just going to sack him because the Browns pass rush is that good. And then Myles Garrett makes a couple big plays and the Browns can get, good offensive field position, score a touchdown or something like that. So I am just in on Cleveland to just continue riding with their defense. I think 6 points is a lot for an AFC North matchup that is really just like a defense. Like, this is a defensive driven game, because the Ravens have I think statistically the number 1 defense, while the Browns have the actual number 1 defense in terms of what it's been able to do. So go ahead and argue because the Browns offense won't move the ball once, but I still believe.
So, I think a few weeks back, I was telling Phil, like, these games where the over under is under 40 and the plus minus is like over 5, like these are great games to bet. I mean, 6 points is huge when the over under is 38.5. And I would absolutely take it if it wasn't for the fact that it's the Browns, and I think that that's the side to take, because I am 0-7 this year when picking anything with the Browns. So
that's so bad. That means 7 weeks you were so confident in something with the Browns.
No, I also took the under.
Yeah, gotcha.
I took the under in the Colts Browns game, and by the way, it scored 70 plus points. So
that game was so bad.
And either way, long story short, Phil, sounds great. I can't pick it with you.
All right, guys, we have 4 games we didn't talk about. I'm going to mention them. If you have something to say, please add. Indy versus New England. If this game's on my TV, I'm going to break the TV. That's where I'm at. I do not want to watch this at all.
You know what? Germany got KC, Miami, so they deserve this game. So
I forgot that this game is in Germany and at 9:30 in the morning, and that just means I get to sleep in.
Hey, JT, though. JT's coming back.
Yep, like I said, I'm going to be sleeping like a baby. All right, moving on. Atlanta versus Arizona. Now, Kyler Murray is the starter. James Conner is back. And Arizona is a home underdog. And I think we all agree this game's going to be really ugly, like just on both sides. I feel like it's going to be 50 to 60 rushes, Tyler Algier and James Conner.
In pure honesty, the Cardinals' run defense is not good. And I would have taken Atlanta, but I couldn't possibly hear it from Connor if I did.
Off principle alone, you can't do that. That's right.
I can't do it. I can't do it. So I pass.
Principle alone says no.
And you're the principal?
Shut up, Phil. Don't make dad jokes right now. Gee, Christmas.
All right. Anyways, what sucks? You kept saying, you know what sucks?
Because the fact that, look, I don't care anymore because I'm tanking in that dynasty that I have Bijan. So, like, I don't care anymore as much as I did. That I hate that this guy is ruining this career, but I don't have any, like, stake in it to go, okay, I care so much this year, and he's not giving the best player on the field the ball to give me fantasy points. So I'm literally like, okay, I hate this guy. Please get him fired. But also, I'm not sitting here like, why are you not giving the ball to Bijan? I'm going to find you. And we're going to have to hash it out and have a sit down on how to read defenses. But I also traded for Drake London in that league too. So I'm like, if he's still there next year, then it's going to get twice as bad. The worst thing that could happen is I go out and get Kyle Pitts too.
So
we are going to pivot from, talking about football in general and picks and what we like about teams to this is the We Hate Arthur Smith podcast, and we'll be
trying to figure out and triangulate through Google Earth where trying to triangulate where Arthur Smith lives in Atlanta. Yes, that's what we're going to be doing.
In one redraft league, I have Bijan and Drake London, and I hit every other one. My team is amazing, but I have Atlanta Falcons, and so I'm average, and it pisses me off so much.
The worst.
That is Arthur Smith's motto. I have the best players in the NFL. Let's make them average.
Dude, I'm telling you. Just one last thing. Just one final thing.
Number 5.
This would be number 5. 5th time we're mentioning Arthur Smith. Ken is so right, though. If you truly believe that you can find value from the 3rd round on, trade your 1st and 2nd draft round picks or 1st and 2nd draft picks every year. Just do it now. If you win games, I mean, you're not, but if you were going to continue to win games, you are literally saying everybody from the 3rd on is the same as my 1st and 2nd. I'll go out and get a left tackle, a premier left tackle, and a premier right tackle with my 1st and 2nd round pick. You're saying that.
You're saying also
4 Algiers. 4 Algiers is better than 1 Bijan. Said no GM ever.
I just pictured them lining up 15 guys on offense. The line of Tyler Algier. All right, let's go on. Giants versus Dallas. This is another game that the second it comes on my TV, I'm breaking the TV. At no point, I don't want to watch this. This is Dallas is going to just beat the living daylights out of the Giants, and we're gonna have to hear about how good Dallas is next week. I don't want to be here for that.
Man, I hope they lose, or I hope they make it close, so I can just be like, wow, they suck.
Have you guys seen how Italian Tommy DeVito is?
No.
He had I think it said TD, like big gold chain and a wife beater picture from him in like high school or something like that. And he's like, great, and enjoy your time, like your 10 games where you play here, but this is gonna be probably 3 games, but it's gonna be rough.
It's gonna be an Italian legend, though.
Dude, he is doing everything he can to make sure Drake.
The Mafia will welcome him back once he's done.
I was gonna say he's doing everything he can to make sure the Giants get a good quarterback in Drake May or Caleb Williams. And then lastly, Washington versus Seattle. This game I wanted to take so bad, and I think Washington can be that team that traded away its best players and somehow unites underneath Sam Howell and plays slightly better than they did before they traded them. They did it last week. I don't know. They shouldn't have beat New England, and New England's not even good. But I am just standing by. I don't believe in Seattle at all as a team. And I wish I could bet it, but knowing that they gave up Chase Young and Montez Sweat, I can't take this game.
I have no idea why Phil loves the Commanders as much as he does this year.
Dude, 10,000. It's all Sam Howell. Like, Sam Howell is currently Jameis Winston. If you look at what he does, I think PFF said he has the best big time throw rate in the NFL. He also gives up sacks because he holds the ball too long and doesn't feel pressure. Throws the ball like
directly to the other team.
He rolled out in all he had to do was throw the ball away, and the Commanders kick a field goal at the end of the half. I know exactly
which one you're talking about.
Yeah, and he threw a perfect dime right to the Patriots
in the end zone. If you're talking about the one in the end zone, it's the one in the end zone. It's like, I have no idea what he was looking at. None.
He thought his team changed colors. That is the only explanation. All right. So, all right. With that, I think we covered all the games. Thank you guys so much for listening. JJ Watt rookie card giveaway. And next week we are airing our grievances. Arthur Smith, we can't stand you show. Get ready for it. We're so excited to tell everyone in the world again and again and again how much that guy is ruining careers.
I'll try and keep it short and sweet, but it's probably going to end up being long and disastrous.
We're going to have to cancel our regular scheduled programming for that. So,
probably.
All right. Have a great night. Thank you.